Welcome, dreamers. Ready to relax and unwind? Get comfy and let our soft night tales take you to magical places. Enjoy.
Imagine this: you wake up in the middle of the night in a place you've never been before. The air smells different and the room feels alive. But the strangest part? You're not alone. There's someone watching you. But you don't know who. Let me take you to a small, cozy village nestled deep in the forest. It's a place where time moves slower, and the moonlight always seems to glow a little brighter. Here, a young woman named Lila finds herself caught in the middle of a mystery that seems impossible to solve. But in this story, it's not about finding answers, it's about finding peace. So, lie back, relax, and let me tell you a story of discovery, courage, and the quiet beauty of the world around us. Lila had always felt like there was something special about the little village she called home, though she could never quite put her finger on it. Maybe it was the way the streets twisted and turned, like a secret map only the village knew. Or how the towering oak trees seemed to whisper stories in the wind. But it wasn't until one late summer evening, when the sky was painted in shades of lavender and gold, that Lila realized just how different her world really was. That evening, she was sitting on the porch of her little cottage, the gentle breeze ruffling her chestnut-brown hair, as she stared at the horizon. The sun had just dipped below the trees, and a silvery light began to creep across the land. Lila's green eyes sparkled with quiet curiosity, always wondering what lay beyond the village, what secrets the world outside might hold. She was known in the village for being a dreamer, someone who never quite fit in with the everyday hustle and bustle. She was content in her solitude, her days spent wandering the meadows or reading old books in the corner of her cottage. People were kind to her, but they always said she was a little different. And Lila knew it, too. But this evening? Something felt off. A strange calmness had settled over the village. Not the kind of peace you feel after a long, tiring day, but a kind of quiet that made your skin tingle. As she gazed out into the forest, her eyes caught a flicker of movement between the trees. It was almost imperceptible, like the shadows were moving differently, like they were alive. Lila stood up, curiosity getting the better of her, and slowly walked towards the forest's edge. The path was narrow, with brambles and wildflowers brushing against her ankles, but it didn't bother her. She had walked this path many times before, but tonight, the trees seemed taller, the air thicker. The night felt deeper. The stars above her twinkled more brightly than usual, casting strange, soft shadows along the ground. As she continued into the woods, she noticed something strange about the silence. It wasn't just quiet, it was expectant. Almost as if the forest itself was holding its breath. And then she saw him. He was standing just ahead, half hidden by a thick curtain of ivy. Lila's heart skipped a beat. His figure was blurry at first, like he was made of mist and shadows. But as she drew closer, his features became clearer. He was tall, with dark hair that shimmered like the night sky and eyes that glowed faintly, like the light of distant stars. His clothes were simple but elegant: dark trousers, a soft tunic, and a cloak that fluttered around his legs like it was alive. "Who are you?" Lila asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. The figure smiled, though it was more of a knowing smile than a friendly one. "You can call me Orion." Lila blinked, confused. "Orion? That's not a name I've ever heard here before." "Because it's not," he said, stepping closer. "But you're not supposed to know me." "Not yet." A chill ran down Lila's spine, but she didn't step back. "What do you mean?" Orion's eyes never left hers as he spoke. "There's something you need to understand, Lila. Something this village has been waiting for you to discover." Before she could speak, he raised a hand, as if to stop her. "But it's not for you to figure out now. Tonight, all I need you to do is listen." And so, with the soft rustling of the trees as the only sound, Orion began to speak. He told her of a long-forgotten legend of the village, a legend that had been passed down for generations, though no one had ever truly believed it. It was the story of a watcher, someone who could see the world as it truly was. Not just with the eyes, but with the heart. The Watcher was said to have the ability to understand the deep, hidden rhythms of nature, the pulse of the earth, the song of the wind, the quiet whispers of the stars. They could move through the world without fear, guided by the gentle presence of something greater than themselves. Orion's voice softened as he spoke, and the woods seemed to hold their breath with him. "And you, Lila? You are the Watcher." Lila was silent for a long moment. The words didn't quite make sense, but something deep inside her felt a stirring, a recognition, as if her soul had always known. "But I don't know how," she said, shaking her head. "I'm just me." "You've always been just you," Orion said, his smile returning. "But now, it's time for you to remember. You're more than you think." As the night wore on, Orion shared stories of the village's past, of how it had been built not just on the land, but on the understanding of the world's deeper magic. The villagers, he said, were always in tune with the natural world, living alongside the forest instead of in opposition to it. But over time, that connection had faded, as people became more focused on the day-to-day. And that's where Lila came in. "You have the power to restore what was lost," Orion told her. "To remind them of what they've forgotten." Lila felt a weight settle in her chest, a mixture of fear and awe. She had always felt like she didn't quite belong in the village, but now she understood why. She was here to guide them. The sky had turned a deep, velvet blue when Orion took a step back. "It's time to return," he said. "But remember this, Lila, you are never truly alone. The village, the trees, the stars, they are all here with you. Always." Lila nodded, though part of her still felt like she was dreaming. Orion had already begun to fade, like mist in the morning sun, his presence becoming less and less tangible. When she finally turned around and made her way back home, the forest no longer felt strange or threatening. Instead, it felt like a familiar friend, a quiet companion who had been waiting for her all along. The next morning, Lila awoke to the sound of birds singing outside her window. The sun was just rising, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. And for the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. She could hear the soft rustle of the trees, the breeze gently moving through the leaves, and she knew that everything was as it should be. The village was still quiet, still the same. But now, Lila saw it differently. She wasn't just a dreamer anymore. She was the Watcher. Lila's life was never the same after that night. The village slowly began to reconnect with the world around them, and though they didn't fully understand it, they felt a quiet shift, a deep sense of calm and purpose that had been missing for so long. And Lila? She finally understood who she was meant to be. She wasn't just a girl with dreams. She was someone who could see the magic in the everyday, someone who could help others remember the peace that was always within their reach. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful journeys and bedtime tales. Thank you for being part of our community.